Hey everybody, welcome to Andy's free guitar chart videos for today, August 4th, 2026. And we've got about 5 charts to get through. We want to get to playing any of them. um, Obviously, chart, I believe it's 585 is where we're going to land. So I want to fill you in from last time and we'll move on. As we can see, we have the C7, bar E7, G7 shaped blues. This can be played from anywhere with a capo. It can be played from tuning your guitar differently. My guitar is down tuned 2 whole steps. 2 whole steps. That would be 3 frets, or actually 1, 2, 3, 4 frets. So but it's the shape in guitar that counts. And today we're actually going to get on up to the 12 keys again, but we're not going to be playing all 12 keys because there are some other concepts that came through that bubbled from the pit of knowledge, and we can talk about that. So we're going to move forward from chart 580. Oh, this is 5. Okay, Root Master Blues, Shadow Map, Blues Transformations. What are we talking about here? We got the native shape. The native shape of caged is C-A-G-E-D. The C shape, the A shape, the G shape, the E shape, and the D shape. So that's what the native shapes are. They're the key of C shapes. The blues notes are in the root key of the blues, the RKB. The blues note is on the C string shape. Okay, so let's look over here. Our C string shape would be the 3-4-5 in the C shape, where we got 5, root 3, 5. This would of course be warped over up here on the top for the B string third. So we'll use a fretboard to talk about that. I don't know if we have one on this chart. Kind of have a fretboard here. So remember, this is where we left off, and we want to get back to this, but by the time we get back to these RKB reference, these are offsets from the RKB. Okay, so if it just says RKB, that's the root shape. So let's start over here with that C. Now here's that fretboard we were looking for. So we've got basically 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 root, or look for our C shaped chord. 5 root 3, 5 root 3. That's our C shaped chord. If we're going to play a C7 bar E7 shape, it would be an F. If this is actually a C, this would be an F and this would be a G. What we do is we can actually we can actually shadow that same shape in various locations, and it happens to be that we can do it in the Blues Master Pent key. We can shadow it pretty close right up here, almost as if it was a caged advance, but it's not a caged advance. It's a shadowing. Okay, it's caged advance in its own right. That if we go the opposite of the cage, or a pentatonic to the left here, we'd go from a C to a D shape. And here indeed is our long D shape. We can't, well, we actually can do the D shape there. So the transformation, let's bop over. So it would be right here, be the same C shape there. So you go like this. Okay, so that would be the same C shape as the original blues C shape up there on the open string. So this is what this shows. I guess we're going to do some of this review. Of course, my head is in the most recent chart, so to go back and do this stuff, it should be easy, but it's not always easy. you know, reviewing and stuff. So the simplified diagram is here. You'd have your RKB 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and then in the BMDK here, we'd have 3, 4, 5, 6 right here with that shared fret there where it starts in almost like a caged advance, but it's not, because you don't cage advance from one string shape to the same string shape. It's not a caged advance. It's a shadow. That's why it's colored like a shadow. Now, we also have a shadow of the fifth up here, the RKB fifth up here. Okay, and that helps us bridge the gap when we need to bridge the gap way up here, about 1, 2, 3, 4, the equivalent of 4 cages up. We can use that fifth to bridge the gap up there, and that's 7 root 2, and then root 2. The D's just there for reference. That's an actual fret. So that's what we want to look at, the two RKB shaped shadow map. So in other words, we can play the whole blues, we can play a whole fretboard on the 1. Okay, so this would be it'd be actually in A flat in mine. My C shape is in A flat, so it'd be like this, you know. And we can do this whole thing in just fifth shapes and root shapes. Okay, now that fifth shape is from the BMDK. It's not from the BMPK, and we also have to, so we have to look for where those blues notes are. Okay, so with the BMDK, with the Blues Master diatonic key, the blues note is on the A. We'll come back over here. We got the Blues Master diatonic key. The original, oh, here we are. The original blues note is right down here on the A string shape, the 5/6 string shape. Blues Master pent key, the blues note, okay, is on the D string shape there. So it's still on the bottom, because we can play the transformation and the blues note, which is the 5/6 of the root key. Okay, the blues note of the root key is the same for all 4 of the keys, the root key and the 3 transformation keys. The 3 transformation keys, I'm going to put my fret nut on where your E is. So when I play a C7 shape here now, it comes out of C7. Okay. Let's just take a breather here and take a word to the wise here. We have the blues note going up and going down when the pattern goes up and the pattern goes down. Okay? So we want to move the pattern up. We're going to take a C pattern, move it up with the tuning warp. It takes the shape of an E. How is that? Let's start a C pattern from the 2nd string. It becomes an E pattern. How do we know that? Because C is an S. So how do we know a C pattern becomes an E pattern? We have here a C pattern. Okay, this is the pattern now without the tuning third adjustment of that pattern. If we're going to do the tuning third adjustment of that pattern, we would want to take this. Okay, we put this up here to make our 6 strings. Okay, and then from here we would have to warp this over. The way I do it is I kind of light it up and then I can drag it over. If I could have done this a year ago, we would have had an easier time back then. So that's your actual C fretboard there. Now it's not a pattern anymore, but you can still see the pattern. So if we take that C pattern, we got an S2L here, 2 longs, and then we have 3 shorts if we're going to do like here's 3 shorts, 2, 3, 5, 6, root 2. If we're looking at pentatonic scale, 3, 5, 6, root, 2, 3, 5, 6, root 2, and then we go back to the C long there. If we move this pattern up, okay, then we are looking at the equivalent of the E shape over here. We're starting here, but the tuning third happens in a different place. Okay, so all right, so the tuning third would happen at a different place then. It's going to happen 1 string earlier, so we'd have the 2 right there, and then the tuning third would happen earlier. Okay, so basically if we're starting on string 2 there, it'd be string 3, string 4, then the tuning third would happen right here. We'd end up warping this over like that, and lo and behold, the top 5 string, don't worry about this guy right here for a minute, the top 5 strings become an E shape, right? Because in pentatonic in E, we start on the 4, 5. Okay, we don't worry about the 3 right there because we're looking, let's say, pentatonically. Okay, and the 4 becomes the root because we're going to the 4th. All right, so we're really not going to be looking at the 3rd either, for a moment, but it's there when we want to play our E shape. But we want to play our E shape pentatonic. Okay, so it's the difference between pentatonic and diatonic that we're going to get into today and see how that changes and see how we can really make it so much easier to recognize the difference between a pentatonic and a diatonic scale can be useful in music.